Picture a tree bent over from years of wind. Every storm pushed it further. Every gust demanded it bow. And it did. For so long it did. Until one day the tree stopped bending. Not because the wind stopped blowing, but because the roots finally said, enough. You're not fighting 100 different problems. You're not weak because you feel deeply. You're not broken because you care what people think. Here's what you don't see. Beneath the surface, all your exhaustion, all your resentment, all your lost identity, they share the same root system. You're not battling sensitivity. You're battling the belief that your sensitivity requires you to sacrifice yourself. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the ancient world, wrote in his private journal during the Marcomannic Wars, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." He wasn't writing this for an audience. He was reminding himself, the emperor who everyone wanted something from, that his peace didn't depend on satisfying every demand. That's the truth most sensitive souls never discover. Your depth is your power, not your weakness. But only when you stop weaponizing it against yourself. This isn't about building thicker skin. This is about recognizing the one root that's been draining your life force, and severing it with surgical precision. Don't skip any part. Every lesson dismantles a layer of the prison you've built from other people's expectations. Comment: I reclaim my energy from people who never valued it. Lesson 1. Your sensitivity isn't your weakness, it's your superpower in chains. Here's what nobody tells you about being a sensitive soul. Epictetus, who spent decades as a slave before becoming one of history's greatest philosophers, taught his students, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." But he also taught something most people ignore. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Think about the last time you said yes when everything inside you screamed no. You felt it in your body, that contraction, that betrayal of self. Your sensitivity picked up on the other person's need before they even asked. You read the room, sensed the tension, anticipated the disappointment. And then you performed. You bent. You gave. Not because you're weak. Because you're wired to perceive what others miss. Here's how this works. Sensitivity is pattern recognition at a cellular level. You process emotional data faster and deeper than most people. That's not a flaw. That's advanced hardware. But here's the paradox. You've been using premium equipment for the wrong job. Instead of using your sensitivity to navigate your life, you've been using it to manage everyone else's comfort. This doesn't mean sensitivity is the problem. It means you've been trained to believe that feeling deeply obligates you to fix what you feel. The difference between empathy and people-pleasing is everything. Empathy understands another person's pain. People-pleasing takes responsibility for it. When you stop pleasing everyone, your sensitivity doesn't disappear. It finally serves you instead of enslaving you. You start reading rooms to know when to leave, not when to perform. You sense needs to establish boundaries, not to fulfill demands. That's not weakness becoming strength. That's strength finally being recognized. Comment: My sensitivity is power, not permission to be used. Lesson 2. You're not avoiding conflict, you're avoiding yourself. Here's what nobody tells you about keeping the peace. Marcus Aurelius observed, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." He wrote this while managing an empire constantly at war. He understood that avoiding necessary conflict doesn't create peace, it creates delayed destruction. Remember when you last swallowed your truth to avoid an uncomfortable conversation? That feeling didn't go away. It crystallized inside you. One swallowed truth, then another, then 1,000. Until you're not a person anymore, you're a storage unit for everything you were too afraid to say. Here's the mechanism. Every time you avoid conflict to preserve external peace, you create internal war. Your body keeps the score. Your jaw clenches. Your stomach knots. Your sleep suffers. Not because you're sensitive, but because you're living in constant contradiction between what you feel and what you express. The Stoics called this living against nature, the source of all human suffering. Not conflict with others, but conflict with your own truth. You think you're avoiding confrontation. You're actually avoiding authenticity. You think you're protecting relationships. You're actually destroying the one relationship that matters most, the one with yourself. This isn't about becoming aggressive. It's about understanding that real peace isn't the absence of tension. Real peace is the presence of integrity. When your outside matches your inside, everything changes. Stop avoiding conflict. Start having it consciously. The relationship that can't survive your honesty isn't a relationship worth having. Comment: I choose integrity over false peace. Always. Lesson 3. Your exhaustion isn't random, it's resistance to what already is. Listen carefully. Seneca wrote to his friend Lucilius, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." This wasn't poetry. This was diagnosis. Your fatigue isn't from what you're doing. It's from resisting reality while doing it. Think about how exhausting it is to please someone while resenting them. To say yes with your mouth while your soul screams no. To show up fully while feeling completely erased. That gap between what is and what you wish were different, that's where all your energy drains. Here's how this works. Resistance requires constant muscular tension. When you fight reality, this person shouldn't be this needy, I shouldn't have to set this boundary, they should just understand, you're tensing against what already exists. That tension is invisible, but it's constant. And it's exhausting. The Stoics practiced a radical acceptance they called amor fati, love of fate. Not passive resignation. Active embrace of what is, so all your energy goes toward response instead of resistance. This doesn't mean accepting abuse. It means accepting that some people will be disappointed when you stop people-pleasing. That some relationships will end. That you'll be called selfish by people who benefited from your self-abandonment. Fighting those realities doesn't change them. It just makes you exhausted while they happen anyway. When you stop resisting what is, your energy returns. Not because life gets easier, but because you stop making it harder by fighting battles that were already lost. Comment, I release resistance and embrace what is. Lesson 4. You can't control their reaction. You can only control your betrayal. Here's the truth that will set you free. Epictetus taught the dichotomy of control as the foundation of all Stoic philosophy. Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. He divided all of life into two categories. What you control, your thoughts, choices, responses, and what you don't, everything else including other people's reactions. You've been trying to control the uncontrollable. When you shape your truth to manage their reaction, when you edit yourself to prevent their disappointment, when you sacrifice your needs to maintain their comfort, you're attempting the impossible. You can't control how they feel. You can only control whether you betray yourself in the attempt. Here's the distinction. Their disappointment lives in the outside your control category. Your self-betrayal lives in the completely within your control category. Every time you choose their comfort over your truth, you're choosing the one thing you can't control over the one thing you can. Strip away their reaction. Strip away their opinion. Strip away their approval. What's left? Your choice. And that's the only thing that was ever yours. This isn't about becoming selfish. It's about understanding that you can't protect someone else's feelings by destroying your own. You can't build a healthy relationship on the foundation of self-abandonment. You teach people how to treat you by showing them what you'll tolerate. When you stop trying to control their reaction, you finally start controlling your integrity. Comment, I control my truth, not their reaction. Lesson 5. Your boundaries aren't mean, your lack of them is. Stop. Ask yourself, who suffers most from your boundaryless life? Marcus Aurelius wrote, the cucumber is bitter? Put it down. There are brambles in the path? Step aside. Simple. Direct. Permission to disengage from what harms you. But here's what sensitive souls miss. When you don't put down what's bitter, you become bitter. When you don't step aside from brambles, you bleed on everyone. Think about the last time you overextended yourself, said yes past your capacity, gave beyond your resources. You probably told yourself it was kindness. But notice what happened after. The resentment that leaked into your tone. The passive-aggressive comments. The withdrawal. The silent scorekeeping. Here's the mechanism. Boundaries aren't walls that keep love out. Boundaries are the container that keeps love clean. Without boundaries, your yes means nothing because you've never exercised your no. Without boundaries, your generosity turns to resentment. Without boundaries, you don't give freely, you give compulsively and then punish people for accepting. The Stoics understood that virtue requires discipline. You can't be genuinely kind while violating yourself. You can't be truly generous while operating from depletion. Every boundary you don't set becomes a debt you'll collect with interest. In resentment, in withdrawal, in sudden inexplicable exits from relationships. This doesn't mean being rigid. It means being clear. I can't is a complete sentence. That doesn't work for me requires no justification. I'm not available for that needs no elaborate excuse. Your boundaries aren't mean to others. Your lack of them is mean to you. And eventually, to everyone around you who never knew where they stood. Comment, my boundaries are love, not rejection. Lesson 6. People-pleasing isn't kindness, it's manipulation. Here's what you don't want to hear. Seneca observed, wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness. But he also wrote, No man is good by accident. Virtue must be learned. Real kindness requires conscious choice. People-pleasing is unconscious survival strategy. You've told yourself you're being kind. You're being considerate. You're being selfless. But here's the truth beneath the surface. Every time you abandon yourself to manage someone else's emotions, you're not being generous. You're being manipulative. You're trading authenticity for approval. You're purchasing connection with compliance. Here's how this works. Real kindness flows from fullness. It's chosen, not compelled. It's given freely without expectation of return. But people-pleasing operates from fear. Fear of rejection, fear of conflict, fear of abandonment. When you're kind because you're afraid of what happens if you're not, that's not virtue. That's transaction. The difference between kindness and people-pleasing is intention. Kindness asks, what serves the highest good here? People-pleasing asks, what keeps me safe from their disapproval? Kindness is grounded in truth. People-pleasing is rooted in fear. This isn't about becoming cruel. It's about becoming honest. Real relationships can't be built on performance. Authentic connection requires two people showing up as they actually are, not as they think they should be to maintain the illusion of harmony. When you stop people-pleasing, you lose fake relationships but gain real ones. You're allowed to choose truth over comfort. That's not selfishness. That's integrity. Comment: I give from fullness, not fear. Lesson 7. Your worth isn't negotiable. Stop letting them set the terms. This is the moment that changes everything. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, the opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if you don't value yourself. As emperor, everyone had an opinion about him. But he understood what most sensitive souls don't. External validation is infinite thirst. No amount ever satisfies. Remember the last time someone's approval filled your tank? How long did it last? Hours? Maybe a day? And then you needed more. Because here's the mechanism. When your worth depends on external validation, you're constantly bankrupt. The supply can never keep up with the demand. Here's what the Stoics knew that modern psychology now confirms. Your worth isn't something you build through achievement or earn through performance. It's something you acknowledge as fundamental. Not, I'll be worthy when I accomplish X, but, I am inherently valuable, and therefore I act accordingly. You've been letting other people set the terms of your worth. When you need their approval to feel okay, you've given them power over your internal state. When you shape yourself to meet their standards, you've made them the authority on your value. That's not humility. That's abandonment of self-governance. The Stoics practiced a concept called oikeiosis, the proper estimation of your own worth based on your capacity for virtue, not external achievement. You are worthy because you can choose. You are valuable because you can respond. You are significant because you exist. Stop negotiating. Your worth isn't up for discussion. When you operate from that truth, everything changes. You stop auditioning for approval and start living from authority. Comment: my worth is inherent, not earned. Lesson 8. The people who call you selfish depended on your self-abandonment. Listen carefully to who gets angry when you change. Epictetus taught, if someone speaks badly of you, consider whether what they say is true. If it is, correct yourself. If it isn't, laugh. But he also observed that people will resist your growth if it threatens their comfort. Think about who called you selfish the first time you set a boundary, who accused you of changing when you stopped over-functioning, who labeled you difficult when you started advocating for yourself. Notice something, these are the people who benefited most from your people-pleasing. Here's how this works. You train people to expect your self-abandonment. You showed them that your needs were negotiable, that your boundaries were flexible, that your yes was guaranteed. They built their comfort on your discomfort. And now you're changing the terms. The Stoics understood that growth threatens stagnation. When you stop playing your assigned role in someone else's drama, they'll try to pull you back in. Not because they're evil, but because your growth requires their adjustment. And most people would rather you stay small than they grow larger. This doesn't mean everyone who challenges you is wrong. It means you need to distinguish between people who want you to grow and people who want you to stay convenient. The people who love the real you will celebrate your boundaries. The people who loved your utility will call it selfishness. That's not your problem. That's their adaptation crisis. You're not responsible for managing their discomfort with your growth. You're responsible for continuing anyway. Comment: their discomfort with my growth is not my emergency. Lesson 9. You're not responsible for their healing, you're responsible for yours. Here's the distinction that changes everything. Marcus Aurelius wrote, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. He understood something profound: you can't heal other people's wounds. You can only refuse to absorb them as your own. You've been carrying weight that isn't yours. Their unprocessed trauma. Their unmet needs. Their emotional regulation. Their self-esteem. You read their pain, and because you're sensitive, you felt responsible for fixing it. But here's the truth. You can't heal people by taking on their wounds. You just become wounded too. Here's the mechanism. Empathy is feeling with someone. Enmeshment is feeling for someone. Empathy maintains boundaries while offering presence. Enmeshment dissolves boundaries and drowns in someone else's experience. You've been confusing the two. The Stoics practiced apatheia, freedom from destructive emotions. Not apathy but wise detachment. The ability to witness someone's pain without taking ownership of it. To offer support without assuming responsibility. To love someone without losing yourself. This doesn't mean becoming cold. It means understanding that the most loving thing you can do is refuse to enable someone's avoidance of their own healing work. When you overfunction for someone, you rob them of the opportunity to develop their own strength. You're not responsible for their healing. You're responsible for not making yourself sick trying. You can hold space without holding weight. You can be present without being consumed. That's not abandonment. That's healthy love. Comment, I witness their pain without absorbing it. Lesson 10. Your peace isn't selfish. Your chaos serves no one. Stop right now and ask yourself, who benefits from your depletion? Seneca observed, a gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a person perfected without trials. But he also wrote, true happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future. Your peace isn't a luxury you earn after everyone else is comfortable. It's the foundation from which everything else flows. Think about what happens when you're depleted. When you've given past your capacity. When you've abandoned yourself to maintain false harmony. You don't become more generous, you become resentful. You don't become more patient, you become reactive. You don't become more loving, you become bitter. Here's how this works. You can't pour from an empty cup. That's not just a cute saying. It's biological reality. When your nervous system is dysregulated from constant boundary violations, when your energy is depleted from perpetual self-abandonment, when your peace is sacrificed to manage everyone else's emotions, you become a worse version of yourself. The Stoics understood that self-care isn't selfishness. It's stewardship. You are the instrument through which your values express themselves in the world. When you damage that instrument through neglect, you don't serve anyone. You diminish your capacity to serve. This doesn't mean prioritizing yourself at all costs. It means understanding that your well-being is a prerequisite for genuine contribution. Your peace isn't optional. It's essential. When you operate from peace, you make better decisions. You show up more fully. You love more cleanly. Your chaos serves no one. Your peace serves everyone, starting with you. Comment, my peace is the foundation, not the reward. Lesson 11. Letting go isn't loss. It's liberation from what was already gone. Here's what you're really afraid of. Marcus Aurelius, who lost children, friends, and eventually his own life, wrote, loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight. He understood impermanence not as tragedy but as truth. Everything you're holding on to? It's already slipping through your fingers. The only question is whether you release it consciously or have it ripped away. Think about the relationship you're holding on to because you've invested so much. The version of someone that no longer exists. The potential you saw that they never actualized. The connection that died years ago but you're still performing CPR on the corpse. Here's the mechanism. When you hold on to what's already gone, you're not preserving anything. You're preventing something new from arriving. Your hands are full of phantoms so you can't grasp what's real. Your energy is invested in what was, so there's nothing left for what is. The Stoics practiced memento mori, remember death, remember impermanence. Not to be morbid, but to be present. To acknowledge that everything changes, everyone leaves, nothing lasts. And in that truth to find freedom rather than fear. This doesn't mean becoming cold or detached. It means understanding that letting go isn't loss, it's release. You're not losing what was. You're liberating yourself from the exhausting performance of pretending it still is. When you let go of relationships that require you to abandon yourself, you don't lose love. You stop losing yourself. That's not loss. That's return. Comment, I release what no longer serves me. Lesson 12. Your standards aren't too high, your tolerance was too low. Here's what nobody wants to admit. Epictetus taught his students, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. But he also taught something harder. No man is free who is not master of himself. Your standards aren't the problem. Your willingness to violate them is. Remember when you lowered your standards to make someone comfortable? When you accepted less because you didn't want to seem demanding? When you tolerated behavior that violated your values because you were afraid of being alone? Here's how this works. Standards aren't walls that keep people out. Standards are filters that determine who gets access to you. When you lower your standards, you don't become more accepting, you become more resentful. Because on some level, you know you're betraying what you know you deserve. The Stoics believed virtue was the highest good. Not achievement, not approval, character. When you tolerate behavior that violates your values, you're not being flexible, you're being complicit in your own degradation. This doesn't mean being rigid or judgmental. It means being clear about what you value and courageous enough to honor it. Your standards aren't too high. They're precisely calibrated to attract people capable of reciprocal, respectful relationship. When you lower them, you don't get more love. You get more work. You're allowed to expect more. You're allowed to require reciprocity. You're allowed to demand respect. That's not entitlement. That's self-respect. When you raise your standards, your life rises with them. Comment, I raise my standards and my life rises. Lesson 13. Silence isn't weakness, it's sovereignty. Here's the power most people never discover. Marcus Aurelius observed, you always own the option of having no opinion. Things you can't control are not asking to be judged by you. As emperor, everyone wanted his opinion, his involvement, his judgment. But he understood, not everything deserves your energy. Think about how much energy you've spent explaining yourself, justifying your boundaries, defending your decisions, arguing your perspective with people who were never going to hear you anyway. That energy is not coming back. Here's the mechanism. Every time you explain, you invite negotiation. Every time you justify, you imply your decision requires external approval. Every time you argue, you suggest your truth is up for debate. But here's what the Stoics knew. Your choices don't require consensus. Your boundaries don't need justification. Your truth doesn't need to be understood to be valid. The Stoics practiced selective engagement. Not everything deserves your attention. Not everyone deserves your explanation. Not every provocation deserves your response. Silence isn't weakness, it's the ultimate flex of self-governance. This doesn't mean avoiding all conflict. It means choosing your battles based on whether engagement serves your values or just your ego. Some arguments you win by refusing to participate. Some relationships you save by letting them end. Some people you help most by walking away. When you stop explaining yourself to people who've already decided about you, you reclaim massive energy. That's not weakness. That's sovereignty. Comment, I keep my peace by choosing my battles. Lesson 14. Your transformation threatens their comfort. Continue anyway. This is where most people turn back. Seneca wrote, a person who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than necessary. But he also understood, difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. Your growth will be uncomfortable for people who preferred your previous version. That's their work, not yours. Notice who gets uncomfortable as you change, who questions your new boundaries, who reminisces about how you used to be, who expresses concern that you're becoming someone else. These are the people who benefited from your self-abandonment. Here's how this works. Your transformation threatens their stagnation. When you stop over-functioning, they have to start functioning. When you stop managing their emotions, they have to develop their own regulation. When you stop being convenient, they have to actually meet you as an equal. That's uncomfortable. And most people would rather guilt you back into your cage than grow into your new reality. The Stoics understood that the path of virtue is often lonely at first. When you choose integrity over approval, you'll lose people who only valued your performance. That's not failure. That's filtration. This doesn't mean being arrogant about your growth. It means understanding that you can't dim your light to make others comfortable with their darkness. You can't stay small to make others feel big. You can't stop growing because your growth requires them to adapt. Continue anyway. The right people will celebrate your evolution. The wrong people will expose themselves through resistance. Comment, I continue my transformation regardless of their comfort. Lesson 15. You don't find yourself. You create yourself by choosing. Here's the final truth. Marcus Aurelius wrote, nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. After 14 lessons, you might still be waiting for permission, for certainty, for the perfect moment when it finally feels safe to stop people pleasing. But here's what you need to understand. There is no magical revelation. There's only choice. Repeated, daily, in small moments and large. You don't find yourself after you stop people pleasing. You create yourself through the act of stopping. Every boundary you set is an act of self-definition. Every no you speak is a declaration of what you value. Every time you choose integrity over approval, you're not discovering who you are, you're deciding who you are. Here's the mechanism. Identity isn't something you uncover. It's something you build through consistent choices aligned with your values. The Stoics understood this as prohairesis, moral choice, the faculty that determines who you become. You are what you repeatedly do, not what you feel, not what you intend, what you choose. Strip away the need for permission. Strip away the hope that it'll get easier. Strip away the fantasy that one day you'll wake up transformed. What's left? This moment, this choice. Will you honor yourself or abandon yourself? Will you speak your truth or swallow it? Will you stay or go? Will you accept this or require more? That choice, repeated 10,000 times, is who you become. You're not waiting to be strong enough. You become strong by choosing before you're ready. You don't heal and then set boundaries. You set boundaries and that's how you heal. Comment, I am becoming who I decide to be. You made it through all 15 lessons. That means something about you. Most people would have clicked away at lesson 3, uncomfortable with how directly these truths cut. But you stayed. That tells me you're not most people. You're someone who's serious about reclaiming yourself from the exhaustion of constant performance. Now you understand, 93% of your depletion stems from a single root system. The belief that your sensitivity obligates you to sacrifice yourself. The conviction that your empathy requires you to absorb everyone's pain. The assumption that your worth depends on your utility to others. The fear that your authenticity will cost you connection. But here's the truth this video has been building toward. This script means nothing if nothing changes. Information without implementation is entertainment. You now have the map. But maps don't move you, choices do. The ancient philosophers have passed the torch to you. Marcus Aurelius, who wrote his deepest truths while leading an empire at war. Epictetus, who transformed from slave to sage through the power of choice. Seneca, who faced death with the same principles he spent his life teaching. Their wisdom survived 2,000 years of human chaos to reach you in this moment. That's not accident. That's responsibility. We're building a tribe of sensitive souls who understand that depth is power, not permission to be used. People who set boundaries without guilt. Who speak truth without apology. Who choose themselves without shame. If you're ready to stop people-pleasing and start living from your actual values, this community is your training ground. Hit that like button if one lesson here shifted something. Comment below, I am becoming unbreakable through choosing myself. Let that declaration mark the moment you decided. Share this with one person who needs permission to stop performing. And subscribe because we're dismantling people-pleasing one principle at a time. Your transformation doesn't start when you're ready. It starts when you decide.